And good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve Schmidt on this Good Friday, the 3rd of April, 2026, joined by my friend, Dean Blundell. Dean, how are you?
Fantastic. Happy Good Friday to you. I like a nice long weekend, even though we're not going to take one, doing the business of the people, for the people, by the people, as we get together every single Monday and Friday to talk about what everybody missed. And what everybody is missing, Steve, as you know, is balloonacy.
The
That's what it
lunacy.
is.
The lunacy. We're gonna issue a little challenge for the audience. Anyone, it's not a great prize, but it's the prize on the table, and that prize is dinner with Dean and I. In order to win, in order to win the dinner. Wow, that's a echo, 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 echo. Wow. Did you hear that, Dean?
Yeah, I got it. That this time it wasn't me though, brother.
In order to win the dinner, you are going to have to, and we admit there's a flaw in the design of the game because we're also the jury, so we decide. But you have to supply, and we promise to be fair, a quotation that is more true than this quotation by Christopher Hitchens, and we should apply this to the cowboy out there in South Dakota, Byron Nome, married to the former Homeland Security Secretary. If we could bring the quote up, maybe we'll put the quote up for the challenge, and
You have the quote, Mike? There we go.
there it is. There it is. Every time I hear some big mouth in Washington or the Christian heartland banging on about the evils of sodomy or whatever, I mentally set my watch. It's about 30 seconds before he's caught in an airport men's room or with a rent boy. And I think the full quote has an alliteration to the somebody being on their knees with the transvestite. But at any rate, there's the quote and there's the challenge. If any of you wish to enter the contest for dinner with Dean and I, all you have to do is find a quote more true than that one, and good luck with that.
Yeah, impossible. And an incredible way to set the tone for today's show. Because that's what we're dealing with, and the
Yeah.
walls are coming down, Steve. I have never in my life, and we say this all the time, every week, every time we get together, never in my life ever seen anything like this. I mean, this machine, this MAGA machine has draped themselves in a cross, draped themselves in their hatred for the trans slash cross-dressing community. And there's an old saying, religion is the last bastion for scoundrels. And I watch guys like Russell Brand profess his love for his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
And magically the same week that he gets popped for rape, underage rape, several women that accuse me. He's like, I've converted. I'm good. I'm saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. It's all good. I watched Christy Noem run around saying we're doing this because we want to save our mentally ill trans community and the parents driving those ideologies on them. Then we find out Byron Noem likes to get dressed up like a schoolgirl and do duck lips with huge fake prosthetic breasts. And he's involved in a bunch of different chat sites, right? So there's that part of it. And then I find out that this Rep Gonzalez, I don't know if you remember this a couple weeks ago, has an affair with his girlfriend
Yeah.
on the side. She self-immolates, dies,
Lights
and
herself on fire in her
yeah,
backyard.
yeah. And then but he's good, right?
He's
Because
good. Got
he's
to run for
washed in the blood of
re-election.
Jesus, and he comes out and he says, "Hey guys, listen, yes, it happened. It's unfortunate, but God forgave me, and that's all that matters here, fellas, ladies, and gentlemen. You live literally in a theocracy run by psychopaths."
I mean, it's not funny, but at some tragic level, all you can do is laugh. And maybe that's the thing to do is laugh, but you should never take any of these people seriously. There's a lot going on. So one of the things that's true about history is that when we watch a movie about events, even a movie powerful as Schindler's List,
Mhm.
it's 3 hours long. and we know the ending. But in the reality, during these years of testing at the great time of peril from the greatest crisis in all of human history, people still got married. There were funerals, there were birthdays. Each day transpired like the days do today. It rolls out over 24 hours. And so we're living life in the middle of this madness. And the whole purpose of the news, such as it is that we've watched on television and broadcast, and the purpose of documentaries that so many people enjoy, it's trying to get a bearing on what's going on in the world. What's happening? What are we seeing? And we're seeing a lot of contradictory things in this moment. We're seeing an unraveling president, an unhinged president, so an increasingly dangerous president.
Yep.
We see an increasingly unpopular president, but one who's flexing his power. We see a cornered president who's scapegoating, and it's interesting that it's all the women that are first up on the chopping block.
Yeah.
And from a merit perspective, they're no more crazy than their male colleagues in the Trump cabinet. So it's an interesting thing. But I think the theme is that the walls are coming down. I think that conventionally gets covered to mean that, oh, the Democrats are up, because politics in America is covered like a sporting contest. A and B, it's binary. Someone's down, someone's up. But by the walls coming in and things falling apart, I mean the Trump regime is falling apart with all of the attendant dangers to that. And that's what I think this balloon story is about. Because I think if you pulled out random names from a phone book, right, to run the country in these senior positions, I mean, what are the statistical probabilities that you could ever assemble 10 people, 11 people, 12 people into the most powerful positions of the country with these pathologies? Right? I mean,
yeah, in past
really,
regimes, they might sneak one through, and he
right,
might or she might get pumped, but it's all of them. To your point, it's a
right.
wall of morons.
It's a wall of morons, of amoral morons, of amoral, antisocial, psychotic morons, right? It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, when we talk about Kristi Noem, right, there's the hypocrisy, the denunciations, the religiosity, all of the pseudo Christianity that she espouses. That's blasphemous. That's an affront to the teachings of Jesus Christ, who millions of Christians around the world get ready to celebrate resurrection that they believe in this weekend. And so at any rate, the greatest ideas in human history, you could lay them out for consideration, what's on top of the heap. But I'll tell you one that I think that should be up there for gold medal consideration is the separation of church and state.
Oh, really?
This was
what a novel idea.
The founders of the American Republic had a lot of good ideas that they put down. This is way up there.
Yeah.
This has claim on being the best idea, and we're going to see why. We're going to watch a little bit of Pastor Paula here in the Oval Office, praising Trump. And let me draw your attention before we watch to the podium. I'll ask you a little bit about it, to just dwell on it, if you would pay close attention to it, Dean, as you're watching this with our audience. But if we could go to the
Jesus taught
go
us
to
so
Pastor
many
Paula
lessons
here. There she
through
is.
his
Look at that
death,
beautiful
burial, and
podium.
resurrection.
Look at that.
He showed us
Look at
great
that eagle.
leadership, great transformation.
Is there audio for this? Do we have audio?
requires
Can you hear it?
Great
I
sacrifice.
can't hear it, but
Oh, I can't either.
And Mr.
But I'm
President,
transfixed
no one
on
has
the
paid
eagle.
the price
Here we go.
like you have paid.
Michael, what's our guy doing here, Dean?
I don't know. I don't know. We would love some audio. We can refresh that. Let's just set the
Jesus
scene,
taught
though.
so many
Oh, here we
lessons
go.
through his death, burial, and resurrection. He showed
He
us
did.
great leadership. Great transformation requires great sacrifice. And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price.
Oh, my.
It almost cost you your life.
Oh, boy.
You were betrayed and
Yep.
arrested
Yep.
and falsely accused.
Ken Comey.
It's a familiar pattern that our Lord
Amen.
and Savior showed
All of
us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you. God always had a plan. On the third day, he rose, he defeated evil, he conquered death, hell, and the grave. And because he rose, we all know that we can rise. And sir, because of his resurrection, you rose up. Because he was victorious, you were victorious. And I believe that the Lord said to tell you this. Because of his victory, you will be victorious in all you put your hand to.
Oh, love it. Oh, not nice. Not nice. First of all, that's Paula White, his faith counselor, his she's got an office in the White House. She is an absolute grifter, con woman.
Married 4 times.
Married 4 times, one of those marriages to some dude from Journey who she cleaned out his bank accounts and fucking split, like took all of Journey's money, the band
And-
Journey.
And reportedly, she banged Benny Hinn,
Yes. Yeah. she did.
who is the faith healer.
Yes. Yeah.
He
No,
heals
he's an
people.
evangelical faith healer, does these big tent revivals. Benny Hinn, just this tiny little fella from somewhere in South Asia who has managed to con his way into people's lives. The guy that goes around and touches you on the forehead and you fall down and you, oh my God.
Beautiful, beautiful white suit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
His first, that was her second affair on her second husband, who found out when the National Enquirer posted a picture of them walking around holding hands in Kuala Lumpur, just on vacation. I mean, that's who she is. Now, she also put out a video the other day. This is prior to Paula White, demanding that everybody in the United States of America, because it's in the Bible, it's what God wants you to do, and where she walks, that's where God is. You got to give her 10% of your, get ready for this, Steve, gross income. Everybody, 10% of your gross. 10, like, and God demands it. She's got a smile on her face. This is the same woman that sells.
you got to do it.
Like crystals, and she's like, these crystals I've blessed with God's love. If you buy these for $16.99,
I'm surprised it's only 10%. It seems like a bargain.
But my
Right.
favorite part of
Seems
this
like a
woman,
bargain.
dude, my favorite part of this woman isn't that she's a con woman, a con man. She's like the female Joel Osteen. She's relentless with the grift. And she does this thing from the pulpit. And a lot of us are like, what is that sound that they're making? It's gibberish. I can't understand it. They call it speaking in tongues. Okay?
Yep.
Now, let me explain, because I'm an apostate. And if anybody understands what apostate is, it means I was brought up in the evangelical cult. I've been to these things. I've watched it happen. I had the full flop sweat at the age of 13 watching an evangelist like shove people onto the fucking floor speaking in tongues. And I remember looking at my dad. I'm like, what are they saying? He goes, I don't know. Let's get the fuck out of here. Like, let's get going. And it was actually in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. That was the one revival that I went to where I'm like, this is fucked. But he says the speaking in tongues. So I talked to my dad about it after, and he's like, this is what I gather from it, right? That they think that that's the Holy Spirit, and it's a special language that they get to speak between their Lord and them that nobody else can understand. But here's the catch, hucksters. It's full on fucking gibberish. That's all it is. And I believe we've got a clip. Can we play the clip, Steve? Do you mind?
Strike and
Well, I
strike
don't-
and strike
I-
and
well,
strike
I'll-
and strike and strike and
Let me
strike
just,
and
if we
strike
can
and
pause
strike
the
and
clip
strike
for a
until you-
second.
Yeah, pause it, Mike.
If we can, we can play the clip, certainly, but I just, in advance, I have to dissent from your cynicism.
Okay.
I think that it does. We just have to, let's watch.
Okay.
Right. And we'll let the audience judge if we have a divine intercession here of some type, where she is speaking in a common language that all the faithful in all places, no matter what language they speak, can understand.
Hmm.
Let's watch the divine, or through Dean's cynical prism, a scam here play out. Let's try to get to the bottom of it.
All right.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain.
Beautiful.
I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata.
My goodness. Wow. That is something. And this is the President of the United States Faith Advisor here as we're at war, comparing him to Jesus in the Oval Office and getting people to touch him, lay hands on him.
That's nice, isn't it?
Praying
Yeah.
for the pedophile
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
Oval Office.
Yeah. That is part of what she
Is there
said.
any way to slow it down? Like, what is like, is there any way to slow that down? I'd like to get to the bottom of what it is she's saying. What it,
Do you have, Mike, do you have the isolated version of those speaking in tongues?
Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata.
and that guy behind her, he doesn't even like take a beat. He's like, look at,
Ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo
wow.
osa
Clear as fucking mud.
You know what?
There, look at this guy. Look at the guy behind
He
her.
doesn't wow. He's amazing.
It's incredible.
In a lot of faith
You know, that's
traditions,
a secret language she can only speak with God, and only she understands it. That's the running narrative behind tongues.
yes.
She must be important.
It's something. Well, apparently, even the Lord couldn't save Pamela Joe Bondi.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
And as the stories are breaking, apparently, she was told when she went for a ride with Trump to the Supreme Court,
Mhm.
she begged him to be able to stay in her job until the summer. He said no dice. And according to many reports, she cried into the evening on the phone to many, many people across Washington about her dismissal.
Good.
And the news came at the Dow standing at about 46,000. That she was fired. And like her friend, Kristi Noem, who's had a rough go of it since her separation from government service, Pamela Joe no longer has the motorcade, no longer has the plane, no longer has the Secret Service, no longer has the free house on the military base, no longer has a seat on the patio at Mar-a-Lago. In fact, she has not even been given a shield of the Americas or anywhere else to hold on to. She's just done. She is out. And so this woman um, distinct from Christy Nome.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lawyer. I can't think of, in my lifetime, I'll throw the challenge out there, another person, this was 14 months of this. So in 14 months, she destroyed the integrity of the Department of Justice. She sold her soul to Trump and obliterated beyond any possibility of redemption her reputation, and now she lives with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't think of any person, and we're going to find out. I'm pretty cynical about the notion of legal ethics, but the degree to which they exist at all,
Yeah.
if she retains a bar license, you're going to know they're a joke in whatever state she continues to be able to practice law in. Unbelievable corruption, and of course, that's beautiful. In legal trouble, better call Bondi. She's getting that great private sector job.
To the private sector you go.
What do you make of her? What do you like? What do you like? I mean, you just never seen anything like it. And what I think is great, she's going to be back for congressional testimony. This time, I suspect, with a lot less arrogance.
Yeah. Well, without those protections, I imagine she probably has the ability to speak the truth to save her ass. And yeah, a couple of statements of what I think, but I've got a couple of questions for you too in terms of process and the statements of what I think. You know, everything it's a true saying. I know it's the title of a book. Everything Trump touches dies, right? And there are so many people that are in this cabinet, in the regime that he's put in places of authority, that have committed so much crime, right? Pam Bondi has perjured herself. She's guilty of perjury. Mm-hmm. She's guilty of the biggest cover-up in the history of the United States. She gave her entire agency and reputation to that man. What did he do? Took her for a ride in the beast, told her to get the fuck out, and he doesn't want to ever see her again. And then, you know, put out a post that said, hey, she's taking a much needed job in the private sector. To me, there's a question there. That's Donald Trump telling everybody, fuck her, right? She's not sticking up for me. She's not doing her job. So, you know, we'll telegraph that a little bit. The other thing is the Nome firing, right? Obviously, they knew that Brian had a proclivity for getting dressed up like a woman and going in chat sites like bimbofication. So that's an embarrassment. Same thing. But he gave her a shield on the way out. So, you know, that relationship is kind of possibly worth something. Hearing today, Tulsi Gabbard is next, right? Tulsi Gabbard's next. So what that says to me is that this is a purge, and it's a very specific purge for a very specific reason. Keep the Epstein files on the shelf, because that'll play into this conversation a little bit as well. And then what happened yesterday, right, with the purge in the U.S. military. You had the Army Chief of Staff get pumped. Then you had another 7 or 8 different high-ranking generals who, you know, we don't know why, we don't know how, dead of night, long knives. Pete Nutsack decides to get rid of anybody that's in the way of something that's coming. We have 2 things that are coming. We don't know what those things are right now. I have a feeling, let's take the Epstein conversation off the shelf and insert it. It's got something to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I have a feeling it was Todd Blanche, one of the first things he said when assuming the role yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. He's like, we're done talking about the Epstein files. Well, guess what? There are 300 million people who aren't. So we're going to keep fucking talking about the goddamn Epstein files. So that purge, the military purge, what's happening? I don't know. I do not know. But what I know is there are no protections for Pam Bondi. None. And the question I wanted to ask you about Pam Bondi, who is a ridiculous fucking character in history. She is an ambulance-chasing lawyer. She is a lobbyist. She's an opportunist.
A Qatari foreign agent. She is nothing but, if not underqualified. She's
fucking inveterate and completely fucking incompetent to be a lawyer, nonetheless be the Attorney General of the United States. But that was a strength for Donald Trump. Like, you got to get dumb people to do dumb shit. You're not going to get a smart person to put themselves in harm's way or commit a crime on your behalf, nonetheless for a fucking year, and then to perjure yourself along the way and continue to crime, right? Like, that's what a dumb person would agree to do. So now we're in a position where those dumb people are not around him. So, what kind of protection does he have if she chooses to fucking do the right thing? But my question to you is this. Is she in way more trouble than we realize? Like,
I think so. Well, I think
because there are, by the way, just a quick aside, there are 12 countries that are currently racing an investigation so they can subpoena Pam Bondi for what she might know, according to what she covered up. So it's not just in the United States, buddy. It's like around the world when you've got all these other countries that are investigating the criming that happened to their citizens involved in the Epstein files.
Well, look, we write every day, and we talk about this stuff every day, and we've talked about it every day going back a period of years, and so there's a record of what we have said about all these people. In fact, we talk so much about this stuff, it's actually hard to find what it is that you said, right, specifically about these people. But here's the gist of it that you and I have said, right, together over the course of many, many conversations on platforms like this and in private. And Kristi Noem is the test, and Pam Bondi is the test. The premise you hear over and over again from people who should know better, in the media, members of Congress, this idea that Trump has powers that he doesn't actually have, like he can decree an election is suspended. All of these people have deluded themselves with a fantasy that there'll be no accountability for the things they did. And so when you evaluate Kristi Noem right now and the state of her life, how's it going? And the accountability phase hasn't even begun. Are there people around her crazy enough to tell her she can get elected governor of South Dakota again or a senator? It's all over. Never hold a position of public responsibility or trust and spend the rest of her life paying lawyers. That's her fate. This idea that Trump cares about all of these people and he's going to pardon all of them. He's not going to do that. Because doing that right now would be an admission that there was some wrongdoing that took place under his administration that he doesn't want to deal with. So it's really extraordinary to watch. Just incredible. But these are villainous people, all of them. And I can tell you what happened with the U.S. Army Chief of Staff.
Please, because this is like
this is a very big deal.
Huge.
This is a very big deal. The Army Chief of Staff, 4-star officer. He's essentially the chief uniformed leader of the United States Army, the senior ranking officer. It's a office held by George Marshall. And the Army Chief of Staff, as was pointed out by Lucian Truscott IV, an excellent newsletter. Everyone should subscribe to it. The Chief of Staff was standing off by himself to the side at a Medal of Honor ceremony recently as Pete Hegseth was yucking it up with a lot of the brass. He wasn't participating in it. And the only interpretation in the middle of a war where you have expeditionary units moving, where you reportedly have airborne units moving, is that Pete Hegseth has ordered or suggested or has done something that is supremely stupid enough for the Army Chief of Staff to have come in enough conflict with him that Pete Hegseth has demanded his resignation immediately. And what you have in the military is the entire promotions process has been corrupted by Pete Hegseth's politicization of it. You have black women colonels who can't get promoted to general because he's interfered in the process, that have been properly selected and approved by a promotions board. That's a rank about half of Army colonels are promoted to the rank of brigadier, and it's a big career achievement to become a one-star general or a one-star admiral. And to see that held up at whim and arbitrarily and capriciously on the basis of Pete Hegseth's religious nationalism and prejudices and racism is just appalling. But the U.S. military has been broken by Pete Hegseth in 14 months as thoroughly as Pam Bondi broke the Department of Justice. And one thing to talk about, I have always been a person that, for example, if I was a member of Congress, I think it would have been hard to argue over the last 20 years if I was making votes that I would have been somebody who didn't vote to give the Pentagon enough of a budget. But you have the Pentagon now under Pete Hegseth asking for $1.5 trillion. Wasn't so long ago that the Pentagon budget crested $1 trillion for the first time. The Pentagon is unable to pass an audit. It is corrupt and it is broken, and Democrats should say hell no to $1.5 trillion Pentagon budget. And just so everybody understands what a trillion is, and we talk about this for some time, and I spent a lot of my career in the business of communication around politics, and one of the great challenges you have in politics is trying to communicate what things cost to people and the connection between what they pay, their taxes, to what those things cost and why they should care about it. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that you can't reach people is that the numbers aren't accessible. Nobody comprehends what $1 billion is. Nobody comprehends what $1 trillion is, particularly in a country where you have 40% of the country doesn't have $400 of cash available for an emergency. So if I said to you, hey man, I'll see you in 1 million seconds. That's in 12 days. That's what 1 million is. That's how 1 million seconds adds up. If I say I'm going to see you in 1 billion seconds, that's in 32 years. Right? 32 years. That's the difference between 1 million and 1 billion, a millionaire and a billionaire. 12 days, 32 years. 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years. That's the difference between 1 billion and 1 trillion. And the debt of the country has gone up $2 trillion.
40, yeah.
In months.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have is an unraveling. A country cannot sustain, even one as rich as America, $40 trillion in debt, a billionaire tax code where nobody pays, and an imperial army deployed in 100+ countries around the world at the cost of $1.5 trillion a year. Not sustainable.
No. It's a great word. It's just not sustainable. Cosplaying Kristi Noem and that whole act, not sustainable. Pretending you're a quality attorney general, not sustainable. Pretending you're Secretary of War, just by proxy, you get to, ascend to the top of the heap at the Pentagon when you have not only no business doing it, you're a disgraced former major in the DC National Guard who lost his job because he sucked at being a soldier. This is a kakistocracy, right? And you can see it in so many different examples when we talk about the walls coming down. Like, it is coming down. The House of Cards is on fucking fire, right? And that's
Yep.
why we're having this conversation, because that is not how this is being presented in mainstream media today. Legacy outlets, Tiffany channels, they're not talking about these things. They're not talking about how these are huge signposts for America to get ready because Donald Trump and his regime is about to get fucking Nuremberged, right? Like that's what's going to happen, and it's starting to happen right fucking now. And one of those signposts, and you and the beautiful people at the Save America movement, you know, and I read the entire post this morning. I knew we were going to talk about this. One of those signposts are these fucking detention centers, right? These detention centers and this $38 billion land grab that the DHS decided to go and buy at seven-time multiples, these warehouses around the United States to detain you, the American people. Yeah, they weren't just buying these things because they were, oh, we're going to put some bad, criminal migrant, people who snuck across the border. They were preparing to put y'all in jail in 2026 or 2028. But the work that you guys did in uncovering that, and again, this goes back to Kristi Noem, unsustainable, had no idea what she was doing. Now all of those contracts are getting revisited, right? All of those contracts are getting revisited. This is a regime that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Not only their hand in the cookie jar, but then we found out the people that were doing this were completely fucking useless. Something that we've all been talking about for months and months and months. These people are going to fuck it up. They are useless. America is an idiocracy, and it gives me not cause for concern. I mean, we're way past cause for concern, Steve. like cause for concern. We're way past that. But and we haven't even fucking talked about the horrors in those detention centers that we're starting to find out a little bit about now. No. Like when this is over, the book and the horrors and the misfortunes that we're going to find out about that happen in those detention centers, not just the financial mismanagement and the ability to go and make different people rich buying warehouses and turning them into detention centers for fucking children, but the horrors that we're going to find out about when those walls finally do come down isn't a narrative I'm really excited to uncover. That's
we have American Abu Ghraibs all over the country. Some of them are run by these private prison companies, and we're gonna talk about one facility now in Dilley, and we have two great guests joining us. First is one of our Save America movement steering committee board members, Dr. Angela Rasmussen, and the other is Dr. Anita Patel. And when I was
just
quick
golf clap. I love both of these people. I was
talking with Anita before the show, and I just want to check right that the titles are right, and it's Dr. Anita Patel. She goes yes, and she goes, and I'm double board certified, and it was prestigious. And I said, well, Dean could have been double board certified too if he had applied himself more.
Yeah.
Right? You could have been
my first date,
certified. Now it's just we just got this show we do on Friday. But anyway, we got great guests. And this Dilley facility. What is the Dilley facility? What is happening in Dilley, Texas?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. The Dilley facility is a family detention center, which are terms that should not be together. Specifically, it is an immigration detention center that houses, they say it's families, but what they actually do is they take families in. If there's one child, the child goes with the mom, dad goes in another area, and they may get a few minutes to see each other outside during the day. And I can say these things that might not be fully out there because we have people on the ground who are getting us intel about these children. And, I know you just mentioned Nuremberg, and I purposely watched the movie recently because in my mind, there is no other ending for all of this than Nuremberg and legislation, because the atrocities that are happening in these detention centers are
Well, what's happening in the detention centers? What do you classify as an atrocity that's happening? And let me just say, I think there's a lot of people that probably fall in my category. I appreciate the fact that there's going to be immigration detention needs. There was under the Obama administration. There has always been. There will likely always need to be. But if there is a U.S. facility and people are being detained, you expect that that facility comports itself with the highest standards and that the human rights and dignity of every person in that facility is being maintained, being protected, being respected. So what's going on in these facilities that we should be most concerned with?
I use the word atrocity because actually, by definition, what they are doing in these facilities are human rights violations, and they meet the definitions of torture. I feel very strongly that we have been gently talking about what is happening in these facilities, and that sanitization of the language is doing the children a disservice. So let me spell it out. They are being starved. They are being verbally and at times physically abused. They do not have medical care within the facility. There is a medical facility. I will tell you when, and we haven't even gotten to how I got into this, but there was a 2-month-old baby who I know was in the health facility because we were conversing with the mom the entire time. She was there for 12 hours with a sick 2-month-old who, P.S., ultimately had RSV, and that can kill a child. No one saw them. No one. And then, not surprisingly, that child was sent to a hospital. Let's get back to the atrocities. When I say starvation, I do want to be very specific in that what they supply to the children and families are either rotten, everyone's seen the worm infestation news, but also even if it is not rotten, it is all but inedible to children. And then to make matters even worse, they do not have clean water in the facilities. And what I mean by that is the water is either brown or it smells like chlorine. And then to make matters even worse, if you would like to buy water, you have to pay between $30 and $40 for a 4-pack of large waters or a small pack of 24 mini waters. So once we got involved with this, sorry, more atrocities. Let's see, what else? Pill lines. There are lines to get medicines, and I'm a pediatric critical care doctor. Medicine timing is very important. These children and their parents are having to wait outside, whether it is rainy, tornado, God knows what's happening in our weather these days. And they have to wait out there for sometimes hours with their infants to get medicines. And just to give you a picture of how crazy the conditions are here, I have listened to call logs of calls from the Dilley Detention Facility to EMS. And I really want to paint this picture because this is how absurd it is. There have been calls from the medical facility for fevers in like a 5-year-old. Guess what? You give them Tylenol. You don't need to call EMS. Conversely, there was a child who seized 3 times before they called EMS. And I talk about the pill lines and that call very specifically because I don't know what that child's medical condition is. I do not know his medical history. But what I do know is that if you have a seizure disorder and you have to wait in an 1.5-hour pill line, that kid's going to end up in the ICU with me. And I'm going to have to sedate them. I'm going to have to put a breathing tube in them. That child, EMS was called, and then he had to be flighted to the nearest pediatric hospital. Another important point, the closest pediatric hospital is an 1.5 hours away. So they take all these kids to a community hospital with no pediatric expertise, and I know that by confirmation. And these children are getting seen by adult doctors, are being diagnosed with adult conditions. Juan Nicolas, this 2-month-old baby, is the perfect example of this. They diagnosed him with bronchitis. Infants don't get bronchitis. They get bronchiolitis from RSV. Did they test him for any viruses? No. Did they give him any medicines? No. All they did was remove mother from the room, not allow her to be there. And then our reporter friend, who is really the angel of all of this, went to the hospital to support her, and they tried to physically remove her as well.
All right. This is what I don't understand about the whole thing. I'm just trying to put this through the law and order test. If we were on a Law and Order episode and I'm the district attorney and you're the prosecutor, I'm saying to you, what's the motive? What is the motive for the people running this facility to be so aggressive in their negligence when they have to know, they're making it easy by proving the point of their most vociferous critics? Why don't they care? Who runs this facility?
Oh, you're on mute. There
Yeah,
we go.
sorry about that. Core Civic, it's a private company. And I hate to tell you all guys this, but if you have a Vanguard account, you may be investing in it. And I can say myself, I have a Vanguard account, and guess what? Vanguard has Core Civic on their list. So if you want to follow the money, the government has
This is the
basically.
board.
Sorry?
This is the board of Core Civic. That's incredible. If you
there
go
you go.
back one, Thurgood Marshall Jr., the son of the legendary Supreme Court Justice who argued Brown v. Board of Education, Thurgood Marshall Jr. is on the board of Core Civic.
There you go.
Steve, if I could add something
Of
here.
course.
I mean, this is part of the business plan of this company, effectively, is to not provide medical care. Same with all of the other sort of private prison providers. This has been a problem.
To what point, though, under this level of scrutiny?
And I think this is what the difference is between this and prior regimes. And actually, under both administrations, since ICE started, since Obama, there have been repeated outbreaks of preventable illness in ICE detention facilities around the country. Dilley has actually been one of the worst, probably because there are so many children that are detained there. But this is not something that is restricted or unique to this particular Trump administration. I think what is unique, and something Anita told me the other day, is that in the past, sometimes when there would be these outbreaks, they would actually offer vaccination to help try to control the outbreak. And it sounds like in this case, there was a measles outbreak at Dilley that effectively hasn't been contained or controlled. No vaccination has been offered. It would cost less than $2 a kid to offer the MMR vaccine to them. It just hasn't been offered at all. And like, that is not just like, oh, we're not providing immunizations for these kids. It's like, we are not doing what we need to do to contain this actual measles outbreak that's happening in this facility. And then you can, transport it to the rest of the country. And it's because I think there's just absolutely no incentive whatsoever for Core Civic to do anything about this. So to come back to a law and order kind of thing, I mean, we need to make it so that actually Core Civic would have to be accountable for the public health consequences of their decision not to offer basic medical care, including vaccination and including basic outbreak response.
Well, Dean, how do you think about this from a philosophical and moral perspective, from looking at those images of the board executives?
Yeah.
They're all accomplished people in corporate spaces, no doubt, lawyers, CEOs of other companies, and they're on the board of this company. And there's been enough written, certainly, that if you're on the board, you're cognizant of what people have said, what the testimony is, the abuses that are alleged. And at a minimum, I don't think there's any argument around the fact this is not a transparent place. It's not easy to get into. It's not easy to conduct oversight on.
Sure.
This is what's going on there is hidden. By construct and design. If you're sitting on that board, if you were you went in to talk to the board meeting. What would you say to those people?
Well, let me set that table and answer that question with the some information that was given to us by Dr. Patel and Dr. Rasmussen. At Dilley, there are no medical staff, no public health staff. They have to call EMS, as you just heard. Fevers, seizures for days. Guards mock the children, right? They mock the parents. They bully the sick. Raw meat, worms and beans, children vomiting blood, no access to drinking water, clean drinking water. Mother describing her toddler suffering from a toothache. Prison officials wouldn't treat her, told her if the child doesn't stop crying, they'll just take her from her, right? Families routinely threatened or subjected with separation to coerce them into abandoning their asylum claims. Got that one too, right? So there's a trigger. Detention regularly exceeds the 20-day legal limit. Many families are held for months. Families, serious due process violations, limited access to legal counsel, many deported with no protections whatsoever. Conditions are incredibly unsafe, no access to food, water, as we point out, pregnant individuals facing inadequate or no prenatal care whatsoever. So when we think about that board and we think about Thurgood Marshall and we think about Stacey Tank and we look at this picture of this child, if I'm on that board, I'm not on that board, right? I'm not on that board. I'm not okay with hurting children. I'm not okay with leveraging sex from female detention people just so they can see their kids. Hey, you have sex with me, I'll let you spend more time with your son. That happened at Dilley. That's happening right now. And it's not just happening at Dilley. It's happening all over the place. And there are mothers and there are brothers and there are sons and there are daughters that are on that board, right? Who have the ability to somehow ethically separate themselves in any value system that they might have from the horrors and the atrocities that are going on and being visited upon Americans, migrants, human fucking beings, Steve, human beings. And if I run my life through one saying, it's this saying, there is no greater thing that you can do in this life than be of good character and acts for the common good. None. It's a Marcus Aurelius saying. Art of Living, Epictetus. It's a philosophy that I run everything through. Every business deal I do, every article that I write, every relationship that I have. These people are void of values, Steve. They're void of ethics. The only ethic that these fucking people have, if they're able to not just allow that, but allow that to be perpetrated over that's violent abuse. That's torture. They're torturing these poor children. Before we got on, Anita said something that shocked me. And with this, I'll pass the mic back to you, Steve, that really encapsulated this conversation. The little ticker came across your screen, Anita, and you're like, oh my God, this child that I saw there the other day now has a fucking ankle monitor on. And I'm like, oh, how old's the child? And what did you say, 2 years old?
So 2 years old. And it's off. We got it off. I mean, this is what we're doing. I mean, I have a meeting with people on the Hill because I think I want to correct a couple of things. I would be surprised if the board knows what's happening. I really would. And maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe they're watching. But what I will tell you is that prior to the past month, most people did not know. We heard about these one-off cases, people would be outraged, and then it would be gone, right? I mean, that's what our media cycle is, because we're all confused because the world is falling apart. So I feel very strongly that every single person right now at this moment in history needs to choose something. And whether it is the children of Dilley and protecting them, which is pretty natural for me because I'm a pediatrician and a pediatric critical care doctor and a mom of 2 young kids, right?
What do you want people to do that are watching this concerning Dilley at an individual level, but more broadly, what do you, Dr. Anita Patel, want to see happen to this facility in a perfect world? What needs to happen here? Do we need international monitors in that facility? Does there need to be a team of board certified pediatricians who go into that facility? What's the immediate demand that someone can actualize to make things better in that facility? What is it that the Democratic leadership should be demanding of this administration, particularly while it's trending towards its knees, about what needs to happen? What needs to be said to the board about removing any ambiguity about the ability of anybody in the country to say, well, we had no idea that this stuff was going on, whether it's in a week from now or 6 years from now?
Transparency is key, but I'm going to start with what I always start with, and also what the American Academy of Pediatrics starts with, which is children do not belong in detention. And I totally agree that there has to be some sort of immigration framework. The reason I'm going to push back is because I think that this is the easiest solution. Home monitoring. All the people that we get released end up having an ankle monitor, the adults. And the home monitoring used to be a thing. So if you put monitors on the parents and let them stay in their home, like people who are home anyways and on parole, etc., that is one of the best ways to not disrupt these children's lives and also the lives of all the children. But let's get back to the Dems. What they need to do, number one, children don't belong in detention. And I'm sorry, I will not stop saying that. It is a fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics and every pediatrician. Number two, transparency. Allow independent medical oversight, or just the Texas Department of Health. I don't think, and I realize now I have not really reflected how complicated the situation is, because the reporting I am reporting to you is from literally 2 lawyers and a reporter. This is not going to the national news. The only reason it has gone to the national news is because we are feeding it to them. This media onslaught is because 5 or 6 women have every single media outlet on blast to tell them children don't belong in prison, allow doctors in, and also just stick to the laws that were established. You mentioned Flores. Over 50% of children are in there for longer than the 20-day limit that Flores set out. So guess what? We have guardrails in place. They just need to enforce them. And also minimal prison requirements. And I know that sounds ridiculous when we're talking about children, but I have worked in a maximum security prison. They have significantly better health care than these children do. Sorry, I'm angry.
I will say, to bring it around full circle, that when we first got involved at the Save America movement in the ICE issues, we were the first group to run advertisements aimed at the Marines deployed at Los Angeles and also at the private prison guards in these facilities, warning them that there were no hidden corners or secret spaces, and that every deed done would become known. And later, when we fielded the Liberty vans with clergy and veterans and veteran film producers and lawyers, a lot of people said these ICE issues were, a lot of people meaning Democratic consultants, Democratic Party poobahs, Democratic leaders, this is not the right issue at the right time. The real issue is affordability. And that was bullshit. Because the assault on human rights, on the Constitution, is foundational and it's fundamental, and you can't be looked away from. And so we filmed ICE, and we sent cameras out there, and it became common practice over time for everybody everywhere to film these guys when they're seen out there on the street. And then we set our sights on these concentration camp facilities, this sick idea of purchasing warehouses, converting them into industrial-based prisons. And now we know that the forward momentum of that project has stopped. There won't be, and I said we will oppose this, and I don't think one of these will ever open. I think I can say with more confidence now than I've ever been able to say none of these will ever open. They will not open. The corrupt contracts will be unrooted. They will be discovered. None of them will open. I think at the Save America movement, our attention has to turn to places like Dilley that are open, that have been open, that are run by a corporation receiving taxpayer money with a private sector board that is invested in by pension funds, by state money all across the country. And it is a moral abomination that we just can't abide in the country. It's a very serious thing. And really the discussion today, as the walls are coming in, what you're seeing kind of float up, that jetsam, is the depravity of this administration, from Byron and Kristi Noem to Pam Bondi to Pastor Paula, all the way through to this abomination. They're comparing Trump to Jesus Christ. And in the end, here on this Good Friday, we're closing this conversation by talking about the torture of children in these detention facilities. It's abominable.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Abominable. Angie, anything to wrap it up with?
Oh, well, I'm just always a ray of sunshine. So my whole interest in this is not just the abominations that are occurring at those detention facilities, but the longer term threat that they pose to public health. And this is really something to keep our eyes on. It's not necessarily part of this Good Friday conversation, but one of the things that is crumbling is basically our wall of health and immunity. And these measles outbreaks, which the ICE detention facilities actually can amplify because there's so much movement back and forth between these facilities. They're not offered immunizations, make the current measles situation in this country worse. Vaccination uptake continues to decline. So we are really in a precarious situation overall as a society, public health wise. And I think that when we start talking about these abominations, this is something that hasn't been done historically, but we really do need to start talking about the culpability of people who are making policy decisions to withhold immunizations that we know work, that we know are safe, and actually holding them accountable to the consequences of those decisions. Because this is not just a policy decision that affects somebody's ability to pay for something or not. This is actually something that will affect thousands, potentially millions of children's abilities to have vaccinations and potentially cause thousands or even millions of deaths and disability. So this is something that long term is actually a huge threat to our country and our children. And we're seeing it right now in these ICE detention facilities like Dilley. We're seeing this expand around the country, and it's something we really need to think about, or we're going to be seeing Dilleys everywhere, not just in detention facilities. We're going to be seeing them nationwide. We already are.
Unbelievable. Dean, you will be watching the Sunday shows. You will be scoring them. Hopefully not as leniently as you have.
I got my knuckles wrapped by my American mentor for my passing grades for any of them last week. I will definitely look at that through a more
lot of grade inflation north of the border. We discovered last week in the grading of the
Canadian niceness
performances, a little Canadian curve. Canadian niceness on display, some A.
Well, and let me just say this.
But you did revise them all to what they deserved was an F. So
I did, but it was only after your team at Save America grabbed the graphic and put a big F right in the middle of the entire grading system, which is good. But dude, we're going to be paying attention to what we're not hearing about. We're going to talk a lot this weekend about who's talking about the POWs, the alleged POWs, and the F-15 that was shot down over Iran. We're going to talk a lot about the purge, not just the purge in the DOJ and at the White House and in Trump's cabinet. We're going to talk about the military purge, which is starting to look a little bit more like a coup as well. And we're going to see who's paying attention, because those are really important things, is the consolidation of power. And mark my words, both of those purges, the military purge and what's going on in Trump's cabinet, the DOJ and Pam Bondi yesterday, maybe Tulsi Gabbard in the next day or two is what I'm hearing, is that they are preparing for something. And while y'all are probably going, oh my God, what now? These are all good signs. I mean, the circle of trust is closing around Donald Trump, and he's got less friends and he's got less triggers and less mechanisms at his disposal. When we start seeing this, all of the idiots that he put in the idiot wall to protect him from us are starting to fall by the wayside. So we're going to mark that this weekend. That will be our intention. Dead Air Monday right here, 9 o'clock with Steve. and we'll make sure that we have a much more American grading system. It'll be
All right.
merit-based this week.
Well, I'm Steve Schmidt. Thanks to Dr. Anita Patel, Dr. Angie Rasmussen. As always, Dean Blundell. Find Dean Blundell on Substack. Follow the SaveAmericaMovement.org. I'm Steve Schmidt with the warning. See you again on Monday. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, this is our God, Jesus, King of Peace, who rejects war, whom no one can use to justify war. He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, saying, "Even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood."